What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to the Versus series. In this series, I pit various weapons as well as other in-game items against each other in CoD World War II. Keep in mind in the episodes like this one, where I'm putting two different weapons against each other, this is not a replacement for my gun guide series. These are more surface level, just looking at some differences, similarities to see which one's better in which situations and stuff like that. So if you're looking for more detail, don't worry, the Gun Guide series will still be covering all the weapons that I cover in this series. Sometimes I just want to compare various guns together, like in today's episode, we're going to be comparing the two-shot kill semi-auto rifles in this game, the M1 Garand and the SVT-40. So hopping right into it, let's have a look at some of the important stats. First off, we have our damages. The M1 Garand has a damage profile of 60, 55, 49. This means it's always going to be a 2 to 3 shot kill in core game modes and always a 1-shot kill in hardcore. The SVT-40 on the other hand has a 56, 52, 49 damage profile. Once again, this is still a 2 to 3 shot kill. So just to be clear here, in Call of Duty, the difference between 60 damage and 56 damage is essentially negligible. It's the same thing, really. The only thing it's going to have a slight impact on is flinch. The more damage you deal, the more flinch you cause to your enemies, but realistically, that difference in 4 damage, you're looking at maybe a couple of pixels difference in the flinch that you cause. So essentially we can say they pretty much deal the same damage. As for rate of fire, the M1 Garand has a rate of fire cap of 324 rounds per minute, whereas the SVT-40 has a rate of fire cap of only 257 rounds per minute. So you can see here, the M1 Garand has a very clear advantage over the SVT-40. Now what about the ranges? Well, it turns out for both of these weapons, they both drop off to that 3-shot kill right at that 51 meter mark. So they have the exact same range profile, but we can also compare our time to kill values here since we now know the damage as well as our rate of fire. And as you can see, the M1 Garand has a very clear advantage when it comes to time to kill over the SVT-40. So after seeing this, it got me thinking, well, the SVT-40 must have some sort of a leg up against the M1 Garand. Perhaps it's recoil. Let's have a look at the recoil comparison here. As you can see, really not much difference in the recoil between the SVT-40 and the M1 Garand. They both kick pretty much straight vertically, they don't bounce around side to side at all, and as you can see, the SVT-40 actually tends to kick a little bit more vertically than the M1 Garand does. So once again, I was surprised, the M1 Garand beats the SVT-40 in recoil as well. What about reload speed? I had a look at them side by side here. Keep in mind, I go with the reload add time, which is the time it takes without the unnecessary animation at the end. And once again, the M1 Garand has a clear leg up over the SVT-40. The SVT-40 is actually one of the slowest reloading rifles in the game. When we have a look at the idle sway, finally you can see that the SVT-40 is just ever so slightly better than the M1 Garand in this area. The SVT-40 has essentially no idle sway at all, whereas the M1 Garand has a very, very small amount of idle sway. It's not really enough that it's going to be affecting your shot too often, but finally we found some place where the SVT-40 kind of maybe has a bit of an advantage. Next up, let's have a look at the Hipfire spread. And once again, finally, something where the SVT-40 does come out on top against the Garand. It does have a better Hipfire spread. One last thing to have a look at here is your magazine capacity as well as your total starting ammo. With the M1 Garand, our standard clip size is 8 rounds with 24 rounds in reserve. And with the SVT-40, we have a magazine capacity of 10 rounds with 30 rounds in reserve. So again, a slight advantage goes to the SVT-40 in this area. So overall, when we compare these weapons side by side, we do have a very clear winner. It's not like one's better in some situations compared to the other one. The M1 Garand is clearly the superior rifle in this game. And this is actually quite confusing to me. The SVT is definitely going to need a little bit of work in this game. At this point, there's really no reason to choose the SVT-40 over the M1 Garand unless you're going for camo challenges. My suggestion is they should increase the center speed on the SVT-40. This will allow it to recenter between shots a little bit faster, therefore giving it superior recoil properties to the M1 Garand. And they should also give it a 1.8 times headshot multiplier with the high caliber attachment. What this will do is it will give the SVT-40 the potential to get a one-shot headshot when you're running the high caliber attachment. As it is right now, for both of these weapons, they only get a 1.5 times multiplier, and therefore it's still going to be 2 shots to the head, even at point-blank ranges, to get a kill. So those are my suggestions at least. That would at least give the SVT a place in the game. It would be that more accurate, slightly slower firing 2-shot kill semi-auto rifle, and it would greatly reward those precise shots to the head with high caliber equipped, but you still would be sacrificing that general time to kill compared to the M1 Garand, which you can spam fire a lot faster. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's Versus video. I'd like to know in the comments section below, which guns would you like to see me compare for future episodes of this series? Keep in mind, I like to select weapons that are very similar to each other so that you can properly compare the two. So just for example, I'm not likely to be comparing the grease gun with the Waffe 28. Even though those are both in the SMG category, they are completely different guns. So with that in mind, let me know what you'd like me to compare. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.